Alrighty, friends. So I just want to let you know I have been busy. That's the reason why I have not been making a video about flowers. But I know that a lot of people are missing me talking about my flowers. So I am back today. Today I took one day off just so I could just relax my mind and do whatever I want with my other chores. Anywho, so as you can see here, this orchid has been burned. It was left out in direct sun for about, I think, 10 hours. I did this myself, and as you can see, these burn marks from the orchids. However, a lot of people say, oh, you have an injured orchid or your leaves has been burned. But as you can see here, I just left it. We did not cut it off. We did not trim it. It's healed itself. And honestly, it formed a formations of a heart. And this one over here, as you can see, it burns nearly all the way through. But as you could also see that the leaf is green and it's still doing great as long as it's still attached. Now orchid doesn't have a lot of leaves, so you don't want it to have to chopped off the leaf if it get damaged, because you will end up killing your plant. And this one is actually blooming and it's doing great. It has a lot of buds too as well. And as I've learned or read a little bit about orchids, if you just take this part off here, this where it's done blooming, and you just break it off, or like just take it off like that, chances are the orchid will heal itself and it will be a little bit better in terms of reserving its own energy instead of going out towards this little overgrown patch here. And eventually this part will actually grow out a root and you will have another orchid. Now if you look here at the bottom, because the mother orchid is blooming, or the bigger orchid is blooming, the bottom has formed a few leaf or offspring. Let me just turn it around. So you see there, right here where there's two little leaves coming out, that's an offspring. Now a lot of people said orchid like it to be dry, you only need to water it once a week or whatever, which is also true. But when you try to water the orchid, you have to use the method of soaking it. So for example, this one doesn't have holes, but there are orchids pots that have lots and lots of holes on the sides and at the bottom. Because this one is in a decorative container or pot, then we don't have this one in the pots that has a bunch of holes. So as long as you can see the condensations inside the original pot and that is wet all the way through towards the bottom, then that will keep the orchid happy. And as you can see on the top, the moss is very healthy as well, and it's also wet. So you want to keep it moist as it can be. So if you're going on a trip for a week or two, that's fine. Before going, you want to make sure to soak your orchid to where the moss are extremely moist, so that way it will have enough water for it. And when you're going out on a trip or places where you have you won't be watering it for long, you want to leave it where it has a little bit of low light. I'm going to actually try to leave these orchid outside a bit so it have a little bit of light, because at the end of the day, the flowers do need a little bit of sunlight, filter light, and it also like it being outside with the natures and not being in the house all the time. And this one is called air root, which means that it is an orchid root. However, it is not covered by any moss or by any type of soil or anything like that. It reach out so it can breathe air. So this also means that you want to leave them out in the open fresh air, because in the not only they need filter light, but they also need to have room to breathe and thrive. So therefore, orchids will survive. They're very resilient, and that's the reason why I like orchid a lot, because they will thrive and live in the smallest container, smallest space, and they still bloom beautifully. As you can see, the pot is not very big at all, and it doesn't need a lot of maintenance as long as the root is moist. And also, you don't want to keep your orchid inside the house all the time, because the moss need fresh air. Because if you put them inside the house all the time, what's gonna end up happening is that it will create mildew. It will have parasites growing on it, and it will attack your orchids. So that's the reason why we take them outside, and if we forget to take them back inside, this is exactly what happened. It get burns. So it does take a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time for caring of the orchid, but each individual flower is there for you to enjoy. And if you like plants, a little bit of labor meant nothing. So that's me and how I grow my orchid. Thank you for listening, and I miss you guys too. Bye.